Jose has just strengthened into a hurricane, and it could cause some nasty weather in our area next week. 5S1 meteorologist Geoff Bansen, he is tracking Jose. And Jeff, give everybody an idea right now what we're talking about with timeline, what areas could be affected, and kind of the scope of what we could be looking at.
Well, Richard, I think at this point, it's a pretty good, everything's coming into a pretty good agreement that this is going to be a close call. It's just, how close of a call is it at this point? Are we going to get just brushed? Are we going to get maybe something a little bit more than that? So let's show you the latest National Hurricane Center track. And yes, it is forecast to strengthen. You see 90-mile-an-hour winds sustained there by the weekend. A good thing for us is that it does move into some cooler waters up our way. So that should have it weaken a little bit. But you see there, that's the National Hurricane Center's cone of uncertainty, that big bubble there. And we're in it. So you have to allow for some error one way or the other, that could potentially move a little bit further to the west. We'll throw in the spaghetti models. Those are our tropical weather models. And yeah, they're in a pretty good agreement of those icons right down the center, that it'll be somewhere in that direction. But earlier today, they were hinting maybe a little bit further to the left of those icons, and that could spell a little more trouble for us.
And what we're looking at is late Tuesday into Wednesday, probably?
Yeah, that's the time frame. Late Tuesday into Wednesday. A couple of the models held Jose back a little bit. Maybe it lasted a little bit later into Wednesday. But either way, if we do get this close call, which, again, it does look like we're going to get at least a little bit of a close call, here's what we're talking about. We're talking about some gusty winds, especially right at the shore. This thing has been sitting down there and just churning for the last several days, and we have had some rip current concerns along the ocean-facing beaches, and we're going to continue to see that through the weekend into next week until this thing's out of our hair. And that could also mean some beach erosion as well, especially the closer that it does get. Coastal flooding risk. A little bit too soon to pinpoint exactly what degree of coastal flooding we would get. That'll come more into play as we get into Sunday and Monday. We'll have a pretty good idea at that point. So it's going to be effects similar to that of a nor'easter if we do get that glancing blow. Of course, if it came a little bit closer, that would mean something entirely different.
And usual suspects, Jeff, we're talking Long Island and the Jersey Shore, probably?
Right, Long Island and the Jersey Shore. Now, a lot of people have been saying, you know, kind of with this storm wobbling up the coast, of course they want to compare it to Sandy. It's a little different because Sandy had inertia diving it into the shore. So yeah, even though you didn't have a Long Island landfall, you had a South Jersey landfall. The wind directions and the inertia of the storm spelt big trouble for coastal flooding. This one is going to be moving in the opposite direction. So that storm moving away, the flooding concerns may not be as bad. But yeah, the shore is for sure.
And certainly, when you look at what the poor people down in Texas and Florida in particular have had to go through with both, you know, Irma and before that, it's Harvey, you know, count our blessings. That said, though, we're not at the end of hurricane season. We got more to go. And as you were saying, you got a conveyor belt, the storms that are building up here. We could be talking, forget about where necessary, because there's a lot of time between then and now, but still, we got more storms coming.
Oh, yeah. We're not even close to hurricane season being over. In fact, we're just a little bit less than halfway to go. And we've got Lee and Maria coming up. They're going to be on the radar next week. We're going to be watching those. So it's, you know, it's not one and done here. The beat goes on. We had Harvey, then we had Irma right on its heels, then we had Jose. Katia kind of just petered out in the Gulf of Mexico. But again, we are going to have Lee and Maria. And the peak of hurricane season was September 10th. It was just barely past that. So if you look, I'll show you this graphic here, really cool to look at. We are on pace to perhaps get into the top 10 busiest Atlantic hurricane seasons. Right now, we're at 11, and we may be at 13 named storms by the time we get to next week. And to get to 5 and 6 on our list, that's 16 and 15, respectively, right there. So if we keep this pace up, we're going to crack this list right here for sure.
Certainly, after what we've seen so far, let's hope for a quiet end to the season. Although, as you said, we're only a little more than halfway there, and let's hope 2017 not repeated in the years following. Jeff, great job, and of course, you and the guys are going to keep following this as we get closer to the beginning of next week. Now, coming up next, Chris Christie, he can't run again. He's term limited out, but he is still impacting the New Jersey governor's race, and he's not helping the fellow Republican. We'll explain on that after this.